Well, it's a loss is a loss. It's very difficult to examine and say how big the loss is. Uh, I think the weather played a big part in it. In England, we said we didn't win any tosses, and you know, it rained in the second innings, and our bowling suffered because of that. And this was the first toss I won over here, and with the rain forecast, I said, okay, we'll look to chase the wicket. If it doesn't get better, it will remain the same. When 72 odd runs, I think it was a good score if the wicket remained the same. I think in between the 4-5 overs that we bowled, two from Raina and two from Vinay, that really brought us back into the game. 170 was a good score to chase, but we got off to a good start. After that, it didn't rain, or they were not enough on the field, and all of a sudden it started to turn and grip, and the odd balls were bouncing more than the normal delivery. So it was difficult. Maybe if the top order would have stayed for longer, and the new batsmen coming in, they would have played their shots with someone at the other end. The result could have been different, because if you see, we struggled a lot, and yet we were able to score 140, 145 odd runs, which means a bit more, and the result could have been different.
Yes, please. So if there is no rain forecast, you would definitely bat first?
Yeah, definitely we are looking to bat first, but with the rain forecast and with the learning from England, we thought it's better off to chase, because the wicket gets better to bat on.
Yes, please.
You knew it was going to rain, so why two spinners, and especially when you had three part-time spinners already? And when it was raining while you were bowling, you think, oh, here we go again, England.
No, not really, because at that point of time, what you think is how you are supposed to go through that. Adversities, they always come your way, and the pick was, we wanted to pick Rahul because he has done really well for us in the IPL. And if you see his bowling analysis, he did the job of what he was supposed to do, and he was the one we picked. So as far as the decision of playing 3-2 are concerned, I thought all the spinners did really well. Jadeja was a bit expensive, but normal scenario we always play him, because he's someone who gives us that balance when needed. And the part timers, they also contribute. Like Raina, bowled two very good overs, was expensive in the third one. So overall, it went our way, you can say, because in between we were able to pull the game back towards us.
Maybe because, as you said, the ball wasn't coming under the bat and it was keeping going down. Virendra Sehwag, at the latest, in both innings, he tried to flick, and it took the edge to the offside. And today also, is he losing his grip on the bat, or?
I don't know. I don't know the technical aspect. The thing I know is getting out. And we all know, he's someone who can be really dangerous. If you compare him, Warner is as dangerous as him. He has not scored fluently. You may say a couple of innings he got up to a good start, but he's someone who can really damage the opposition bowling. So if he gets going, then we all know he's very difficult to control by the fast bowler or the spinner.
Yes, please.
Mani, there hasn't been much said about the support you expect from the Indian crowd or the Indian population living in Australia in particular. But if we listen to the PCs of the Australian players, they have always made a point towards the crowd. How did you feel about today's 2020 and the support, and how the stadium got filled up? Will there be something you will be saying towards the crowd or towards the support of the Indians living here?
Well, it's always good to play in front of the fans, that we have got. But for me, what's is of utmost importance is the fact people are coming onto the stadium. It doesn't matter whether they're supporting us or they're supporting the Australian side. It's always a pleasure playing in front of 50,000 people or 60,000 people. So this was a very good game when it comes to that. The people, they came in to support good cricket, and I think the distribution, or the Aussie and the Indian fans, they were pretty even, because from inside you couldn't really make out whether the ball went for a boundary or somebody got out, which meant the balance was there. So it's good to have them on the field coming for some good cricket. So I'm hoping that it will happen in most of the games. When India and Australia, they are playing, maybe it will go down a bit when India and Sri Lanka when they are playing.